So let's get started. Once your account's been created by your LA's admin, you'll receive an email invitation with a link to log in and create your account. Anytime an audit's assigned to you, you'll also get an email, and this one will have a link directly to the audit ready for you to get started on auditing your EHCP or annual review. Otherwise, we can always log in from our website's homepage by going to Invision360.com and using the login drop-down menu and selecting the correct module from here to log in. Once we get logged in, it will take us to a screen that looks like this. This is our auditor dashboard. If it doesn't take you to the screen and you see a report dashboard or the coordinator dashboard instead, you can always access the audit page just by selecting audit on the top of the screen here in this top navigation bar, and that'll get you to here. From here, we can see the audits that have been assigned to us. So we can see our audits that we've not yet started at the top of the screen and audits that we've got in progress, as the tool saves as we go through, at the bottom of the screen here. An important thing for us to remember at this point is that EHCP or annual review documentation isn't stored on the Invision360 platform, so we'll need to make sure that we have access to those documents separately before we get started. To get started with our audit, we click on the record that we'd like to review, whether that's our EHCP or our annual review, and that will highlight that on the screen for us. We make sure that we've got that documentation available to us. So in this case, on the EHCP tool, I would need eyes on that education, health and care plan, and I would check the data that the internal ID number, key stage, primary need, setting name and setting type matched the document that I'd been provided by our local authority. When I'm ready to start, I hit proceed to audit in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and it'll just ask me to double check those details and confirm because the plan's not saved on Invision360. If there are any discrepancies here with the plan that I've been provided by the LA and the data I'm seeing on Invision360, I'd just flag that up to the coordinator for our audits to make sure I'm putting the right child or young person's data on the tool against that ID number. In order for me to get started, I'll need eyes on that plan and I'll need the Invision360 tool open. So I'll either have the plan open in another tab on my web browser here, or I might have it open as a Word document, a PDF, or open on a second monitor side by side. Again, in the bottom right hand corner, I'll hit proceed to audit, and I'm then in the audit screen, ready to start through each section or theme at my own pace. Each criterion within the tool includes some guidance text, and each section has a short prompt to help us make consistent judgments. For every criteria, we have a drop-down menu next to it where we can select whether the criteria has been met or not met, and some of those criteria will also have partially met or not applicable next to them as well. The tool is automatically then going to calculate the grading for this section or theme, whether that's gold, silver, bronze, or significant gap, based on our responses. We can also add any additional comments to explain our decisions, highlight good practice, or provide feedback for improvement as we're going through, with the add additional comments on the theme button at the top of the screen. So let's get started with doing an audit on this section A as an example. There's a few elements here that for me to be aware of, as we mentioned, and we'll get cracking. So the first of those is that prompt. What does good look like? This is a very short, succinct paragraph to tell me the sort of thing that I'd expect to see in a good section A that would come out as silver on the Invision360 QA module. The next is that section question by question, criteria by criteria guidance that we spoke about. So for all of our criterion, you'll see this little information response guidance button. Clicking on that, it will show me where this criteria has been drawn down from if I want to click through and have a read of that. And it will give me information on when I should be selecting met, partially met, and not met for this criterion. Finally, you'll see that some of our questions will have this little shield to show us that's a compliance criteria, that this is something that is linked to the plan being compliant. At the top of the screen, we'll also have our compliance tracker next to our ratings, which shows me the compliancy for this section as I go through. So to get started with this audit, I would read the section A of the EHCP that I'm auditing, and I would then start selecting from the drop downs where criteria have been met, where criteria have been not met, and so on and so forth as I go through doing the audit. You'll see at the top of the screen here, I have my gold, silver, bronze and significant gap, and I have a progress bar showing me how far through this section I am. I go through selecting from the criteria until I've completed this section. When I'm happy with that, I can hit next section if I'm moving through alphabetically from sections A to K. Or if I want to audit these in a different order, perhaps I'm doing B, E and F together and then C and G together, D, H1 and H2. I can use the navigation panel on the left hand side of the screen to navigate to any particular section that I want to audit. There's a few key differences I'd like to highlight here between whether I'm auditing an EHCP or an annual review on the Invision360 QA modules. The first of these is the structure of the audit tool. In the EHCP QA module, the audit is structured in a section-by-section approach following the structure of the EHCP document. So you'll see sections A through K, and then at the end, we'll see any additional criteria that don't belong to any particular section and a good practice checklist. The annual review module works slightly differently in that it takes a thematic approach. We audit theme by theme. So the questions are grouped under themes like timeliness and quality, meeting needs, outcomes, provision, post-annual review, and the monitoring of the EHCP's long-term outcomes. You'll also notice as you go through the annual review tool that it doesn't have a significant gap grading, so all of our themes will fall under that gold, silver, or bronze. I mentioned the tool saves as we go, so let's go to an audit that's nearly ready to submit so that I can show you how that looks when we're ready to submit. So the audit that I've just started there, you can see has now moved down to my audits in progress. But let's go to one of these that's a little bit older that I've prepared for ready to submit. So once I've got to the final page, which is my good practice checklist, I can click view results and I'll get to this screen here. This is our audit summary page that will show me how compliant our EHCP is based on the compliancy criteria, the overall grade of the EHCP based on our sections. I've then got my section by section breakdown that will tell me which sections I completed and their compliancy alongside the rating for those sections. The last thing for me to do here is to go to the bottom of this page where I can type in the strengths of the EHCP as free text. I can just leave these as a short sentence or some narrative or a few bullet points, and any audit actions that I think need to be undertaken following my audit of this EHCP, which again, I can add as bullet points just at the bottom here. So I might add one action and I might put in a few sentences about the strengths of this EHCP. When I'm happy with this and I'm ready to submit it, I hit submit in the bottom right hand corner. It's important for us to note that up until the point that I hit submit, I can go back and modify any of those sections that I want to just by jumping back into the tool. But once I get to the end and I hit that submit button, I'll get a prompt on screen that says, congratulations, I've successfully completed my audit. The PDF summary and relevant outcome data are accessed to the coordinators or people with admin access, and my work is done. And I can't go back in and change any of those data. But if we have made a mistake that we notice after submitting, it's not the end of the world. We can contact the admin for the module and they can reopen the audit for us, but we can make changes if that is necessary. And that's it. We've now successfully logged in, completed an audit of an EHCP or annual review, and submitted the audit in the Invision360 EHCP or annual review QA modules. If you've got any questions, need any further support, or would like to talk through this in a one-to-one or group call, you can find more videos and guides within our help centre, or you can contact us at support@invision360.com.